Damo, you big sweet tooth.
Yes, MP, you chocoholic.
So Naughty But Nice, we're a hit at the Wellness Summit and I want more.
Well, how does 20 recipes in their free ebook Heavenly Healthy Desserts sound, MP?
Jeepers, Damo, I'm loving that.
Or you can hop on down to their brand new cafe, Selection Cafe in South Melbourne, and receive 10% off your favourite healthy desserts.
Woohoo! To do so, go to sonaughtybutnice.com/couch and fill in your details to receive your free ebook and discount voucher.
That's www.sonaughtybutnice.com/couch.
So Naughty But Nice, delicious nutrition.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And we are so on the run today. Let me just put it out there, tell everybody that we're coming to you as live gets. I have my hair on fire preparing for my very first major live online event tonight, and I am just beside myself with web cameras, microphones, interfaces, WTF. I don't even know what any of it means. I'm in the car right now running from JB Hi-Fi to Dick Smith to Officeworks, then back to Dick Smith, and somebody save me or somebody stop me.
All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me what you're doing. So, let me know. What are you doing?
Well, tonight is my first live online event where I've got like 100 people dialing in to ask me questions about their business, their mindset, their success, their journey, and I'm just trying to put it all together in a really awesome way so that everybody gets maximum value for their time.
Okay,
I've got one of my events coming up,
you.
Monetize Your Message,
Kez,
and I've got so many people who,
Kez, sorry, darling, we just
yeah.
lost you. We lost you. You need to explain that again. Sorry, darling.
Oh, Fruit Loops. Okay, well, have you got me?
Yeah, go for it again. We just don't want to miss it. It sounded amazing.
Oh, it's live and it's online, and it's my first. Oh, you lost me again.
No, keep going.
It's my first live online event tonight with like 100 people all dialing in to get their questions answered about their business, their success journey, what they want to achieve, their profile, how to really make a massive impact. And I really want it to be exceptional. So I'm from Officeworks to JB Hi-Fi to Dick Smith, back to J-Car, back to Officeworks, back to my office to trial and test, and then back out again. And I've got my hair on fire, but I'm so excited. It's going to be huge.
You're amazing.
And I really want it to be really awesome because it's, and it's free, but I want it to be like really exceptional because I've got my one-day live event, Monetize Your Message, coming up. And there are so many amazing people who have done exceptional studies and courses, and they really just want to make the world a better place. And I want to help them do that. So I'm really excited because I feel like I'm coming from a completely different place with what I'm doing. And it's exciting, but I've got my heart at stake today.
Kez, you are such a trailblazer. You are such an amazing... I feel so privileged that we get to know you so up close and personal, but if people could just know the amount of effort and everything that you put into every single course that you offer, it's mind-breaking. It's mind-blowing. It's world-breaking. I just want to congratulate you. You're such an inspiration to us all.
Oh,
but not only that, Karen and Kim, she's very creative. Like, I just look at the things that you come up with and figure out and do, and I think, how does she come up with all of this stuff? What does she do? Lay awake at night and just go tick, 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 tick. But Karen, how do you come up with this? How do you – because you started with Speakers Fast Track because that's – well, I met you when you were talking about, the Bali bombings and how it had changed your life and how you'd broken out of depression. So that's when I met you. And then from there I've seen you do Speakers Fast Track, which I've done, the Mindset Mastery, Eat with Ease, and I've done Mindset Mastery as well, Eat with Ease, and I don't know, you seem to reinvent all the time, even though everybody still wants to do Speakers Fast Track. You're reinventing yourself and what you're doing and your business, and I think that that's a really good model in that you're not going, if it's not working, you go and reinvent something else, and if that's not working, then you go again. And a lot of people, they just keep on the same thing, and for some it's good because doing the same thing, they're getting the result they want and they're happy to stay there. But there's that creativity. What do you do? When does that little spark come?
Well, it's interesting that you should say that, but I think that all three of us are very much the same like that. I mean, I get just as inspired by you, Cyndi, every time I hear you speak about something completely off the chain. And same for you, Kimmy. It's like, and I think that very much I bounce off you guys. And I know that you probably don't realize that, but when I see you guys constantly remaining so incredibly relevant with what you talk about, it inspires me to make sure that I do the same thing. And I get my sparks of creativity when I'm just about to fall asleep.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's when my brain is gone.
Well, it's so funny because I do this little, when I go to sleep, I recap my day and I make sure that I get myself into a state of really exaggerated gratitude every night, like over-the-top gratitude, so that it's sort of oozing out of every cell. And then I go to sleep, and it's just as I'm about to go to sleep, I'll start to get these exceptional ideas when I have no notepads. I can't write anything down. Of course, I'm going to forget it by the morning, and that's when it comes. So,
oh my God, it's so good you say that, because I go out for my runs, and the other day when I saw you on my run, Kaz, just after I saw you, you must just give me that little injection. But after I left you, and there's only 1 kilometre between my house and my door and your door, and between there, I came up with the title of my next book. I came up with how I'm going to write it and the series of each one of it in between there. So it was like, it's true. It's those moments that you don't expect them to come, isn't it? That's the inspiration. And I know for many people it's getting to nature or walking a beach or being in the country or, meditating. But I love that you I do think, though, that you're a master at it. You are incredibly gifted at taking it to another level. And Cyndi was saying before, you're someone who doesn't know, if it's not working, you don't do it or you recreate it. But then what I've noticed, even when you do it well, you're always looking for ways to take it to another level. So it's kind of like you never rest on your laurels. And I think that's something that I really admire, perhaps in mums, in entrepreneurs, in business people. It's that constant elevation of delivery and learning and development, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think, for me, I get bored. So I think I like to expand on what I'm doing, because if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, then for me it's not exciting. And I think that there's always the opportunity to take whatever I've done to another level of just another level of information or another level of content. And I think that keeps the person in their business quite relevant, but it also keeps the business exciting. Like, it keeps what I do exciting.
Kaz, are you walking?
For me, anyway.
Are you out of your car now and walking? I can hear you.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
adorable.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but I love it. I love how we're doing this on the ride. I love it.
I'm going to be... Oh, it's so live. I tell you, it doesn't get any more live than this.
So what would be, just on that note then, because I think this is a really interesting conversation, what would be your...
Are you girls?
Hey? What would be your piece of advice to people that are sitting there that may be stuck in a rut? Like, what's your call to action? What's the way that you could recommend ways and for people to become more energized or inspirationalized? Is that a word? Or how they can get their mojo back?
I think if a person thinks about what they love, as long as we stay connected to what it is we love and the things that we feel that we can make an impact with or that we can make a difference with. You look at Cyndi and you even look at yourself, Kimmy. What you love is self-care. And the way that you deliver that out to people, and what Cyndi does is she loves her nutrition, but the way that she delivers that to people, it's something different every week. It's either a different oil or a fragrance or a new book. Or for Cyndi, it's a new line of thinking. It's, around her anthropology, or it's what we've inherited and how we adapt. No two conversations are ever the same. And I think that when we discover something really profound for ourselves, get it out there, because I really believe that our lives are on behalf of mankind as opposed to just being for ourselves. And I think whatever we get, whatever we discover, share it, get it out there, get it out in a blog or an email or just share it with people.
Cyndi, what do you do? What do you do to keep yourself
It's funny because once you do that, life just seems to throw you the next stepping stone, or it seems to point you in the next direction. Yeah. What's that?
Oh, I just was thinking, I love what you're saying, and I was just thinking then, how does Cyndi stay so relevant? Cyndi, what do you do? I was just asking her what she does to stay inspired.
I think it's almost as if one thing always leads to another.
Yeah.
And if we just get into action with what we know, or we just share a little bit of something, it's almost like there's room that gets created in the mind for the next thing. I don't think anybody's ever stagnant, really, are they?
Yeah. Tell me, do your followers inspire you?
What do you do to keep yourself inspired?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I think the question I just asked you is, why is it your followers that also help you? I think a lot of my inspiration comes from people that really are emailing me on a daily basis. It's incredible, really, the questions I get on a daily basis. And, a lot of that comes from people's desire to get well, people's desire to be a better mum or dad, people's desire to understand nutrition better. I think it's hilarious that they ask me about nutrition, but I think I've said this before, on my LinkedIn profile, the number one endorsement I get is around nutrition. So I am so passionate about food, but it's not my skill. And yet, I guess if I'm coming from a Jerfer point of view, then it totally is my skill. So I get inspired by requests by my customers, and my beautiful team inspire me. Of course, you two inspire me. And I actually reckon I actually said it to my hairdresser this morning. I was sitting there and she said, "Don't you love mornings like this?" And I said, "You know what? When I wake, I cannot wait to get up and out of bed." And yesterday I said to my husband, because he's home at the moment, and I said, "Let's go down and see the sunrise." And he's like, "Yeah." So we just walked 150, 200 metres down to our beach. We get down there, we watch the sun come up, and then I went, "Oh my God, let me do my newsletter while I'm down here." So then he videos me for 3 minutes doing my newsletter. And then I went, "Oh, let me do my WOD while we're here and take a photo while I do it." I mean, that's how I kind of roll with it. It's kind of very in the moment, and it's not very well contrived. And as much as my team try to organise me and tell me, certain themes should be occurring, I'm probably, I don't know, I get inspired in the moment rather than being kind of told what I should be doing. So I guess if people want to follow that, that's what they get. But yeah, it's very inspiring. My family inspire me. My children light me up like you wouldn't believe. I don't know. It's a beautiful place in my life right now. I feel very happy where I am right now.
Well, that's just beautiful. How blessed are you?
Yeah, it is. It's good. I don't know if we've got our Cyndi girl back, but are you there, Cyndi girl?
I did hear her giggling before.
I did too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I wanted to ask you again, my darling, while we're on this note of inspiration, is we've talked a little bit in the past about, earthing, getting into the country, being by water. Like, there is a lot of research around what that does for the mind and the body. Can you give us some insights, Kaz, around how being in nature gives you a much better vibrational maybe state or inspirational state, or what it is that you know around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as much as we get a feeling that feels amazing when we're out in nature, there's actually a scientific explanation for why being near nature really lifts us up. So being around water, especially moving water and waterfalls, it emits the negative ions, and the body is positively charged. So when the moving water, like waterfalls or ocean, crashes, it emits a negative ionic field which interacts with the positive ionic field of the human body, which is what makes us feel amazing and elevated. But it also puts us into a state of bliss, of natural peace, which is ultimately, I think, what every human is striving for. And the same is true of nature. Plants and trees and grasses and also animals, they vibrate at a vibrational frequency that is uninterrupted and unadulterated, whereas our vibrational frequency is often adulterated by, waves, Wi-Fi, negative thinking, toxins in the air, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of our vibrational frequency is adulterated and interrupted. Whereas you go out into nature, especially bushwalking or on farms, Miss Cyndi, when we go out and we interact with nature that way, then we are influenced by the frequency that is more potent than ours. So even if we stand next to somebody who's incredibly inspirational or incredibly well and healthy, their vibrational frequency influences ours. And it's a case of, interestingly enough, from a scientific point of view, understanding that everything is interrelated and connected. And even though we can't see it, it is still occurring. It's kind of a bit like electricity. Even though we can't see electricity, it is occurring out there. So when we interact with other vibrational frequencies that are unadulterated or uninterrupted, then it has a natural effect on our vibrational frequency, which enhances the consciousness of all that are in that vicinity. So when you, and it's a beautiful thing, actually, I really love this. There were some studies conducted on when people are growing plants or vegetables and they touch the leaves and they talk to the plants and they send loving, healing energy, and they send their that intense love that you can feel. They send that through to the plants as they're touching them. When they do it, then they show a plant that hasn't had that next to a plant that has had that. The plant that has had that, even though it may have had less water or less nutrient in the soil, it's a far more healthy, flourishing organism than what the plant is that hasn't had that. And it's really beautiful. And I think, if you want to experiment with it, go and buy two plants that are identical, give them the same amount of water and nutrients, but fall in love with one and leave the other one alone, and you'll see the difference, and the accelerated growth journey that particular plant has is profound.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
It really is evidence that, it's evidence that we're so connected.
Yes.
It's magic.
Now, I think we're having a few problems with our Cyndi. Yeah. So what I also wanted to ask you is, how do we actually connect with that if we don't have access to the outside environment? Is there other ways that you can tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've got pets, hang around your pets as much as you can, because for the most part, although some of our pets are a little bit neurotic, I think for the most part, most of our pets are a really amazing conduit for our own enhancement and inspiration. And stroking your pet has been known to soothe the brain waves and to soothe the heart rate dramatically. So hang around your pets as much as you possibly can. Also, too, if you can't get outside, if you can't go bushwalking, just go into your outside garden. Take your shoes off and let your feet touch natural ground. So not concrete, but any kind of stone or grass or or dirt. And then that also emits a negative ionic charge through the body and allows the body to discharge the electricity that courses through our veins on a day-to-day basis, which gets accelerated with stress and emotional, I use the word drama, but I don't mean drama in terms of being a drama queen. I just mean the emotional drama that gets carried out on a day-to-day basis. It does cause an electrical field to operate inside of the body, which can be discharged as soon as you take your shoes off and touch the grass. Definitely lathering yourself in beautiful oils and water. If you can be around water that has, and it's challenging actually, even the water that comes through our sinks and our taps, it runs contrary to its natural structure. So water should usually be running downstream and water should be bashing into itself all the time. So if you think about a water stream with rocks in it and you think about how that water goes downstream and it bashes into itself and it bashes into rocks, that is altering the molecular structure of the water, which is more important than the chemical composition. So if we can somehow be
taking a shower be good like that, because sometimes we haven't got time, but I always feel great after a shower.
Yeah, I think most people do. Most people, always feel really invigorated after a shower. And, yeah, it's because the water, to get up the spurt, it's working really hard and then it crashes onto your skin. So, yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I think anything that a person can do to enhance their day-to-day experience. I have salt lamps around the house. Yeah. They're fantastic in terms of the ionic charge that gets put into the air. Yes. I have one in every room and I have a massive nugget in my lounge room. Fabulous. Fabulous.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
And you want to hear what I...
Oh, there you are.
I am. I've been hearing you guys, but just for some reason, yes, I'm back. Hey, one of the things that I've done on a very small building that I'm renovating is that I have rendered it with clay and hemp. And that's not to get high, guys, nothing like that. But the hemp is, and the clay, the hemp and the clay is to ionize, to take out pollutants, it's actually bringing the outside world into your home. And so no painting, no nothing like that. It's just all hemp and clay. And I did it in the bathrooms as well. So it's quite, and this is all up in the farm. So I've already got the outside coming in. But I've also done that because I was speaking to Chris and Bob from Rockcoat, and Bob was telling me the importance of it. And that way I don't have to have a salt lamp on all the time. My air's being ionized. So I think we live in such a plastic world. We have, painted surfaces. We have carpets that off gas. We seem to be wearing synthetic stuff, and I think it's just about time we think about perhaps looking at bringing nature back into our homes.
And Cyndi, when you were talking just before, I don't know if you heard us, but Karen was talking about...
sounds just delicious.
Yeah, and Karen was talking about flowing water and the importance of what that can do to our soul and our mind and our physiology and obviously our spirit. You just had an experience just recently getting in not only the country but the absolute Australian outback. Did that inspire you at all, my darling, to become Mrs. Bear Grylls officially?
That has to be your next book, Cyndi. You so have to write that book.
As Bear Grylls. My girlfriend Ricky, who we've been friends forever, and we have kids that are really close together. And so a year and a half ago now, she moved out past Longreach, 5 hours southwest of Longreach, and went to a place called Corongaloo, which is 1.5 million acre station. And she's been asking me to go out there for the year and a half. Please come out and see it. So finally I got a weekend where I was at. So first able to go to Brisbane, then on the plane to Longreach via Blackall. Then from there, she picked me up and we drove back through dirt track roads to Corongaroo. So, you're in the middle of nowhere, but you arrive on the station and the front gate to the house is, 15, 20 minutes. It was a fair way in. But you arrive at the settlement of a lot of homes and cattle yards, and she had sheep and pigs and, no, she didn't have sheep, sorry. She had pigs and chickens and dogs and cattle and horses that were in the house yard, which was 60 acres, by the way. The house yard was 60 acres. And it was, you're in the middle, the two of us were the only ones on the station. Everyone else had gone to the Windora rodeo, and we were the only two on 1.5 metre acres. I don't know if you can even imagine that you're alone on that much land and with all the animals around us. And I'm sure there were some ghosts from the past because this is an old station. There were two Aboriginal settlements on the station, or Aboriginal, not even settlements they were, they're old traditional tribal lands. And I was very fortunate to go up in a chopper and be shown these amazing places. There's paintings also where the tribes once were. There were old homesteads that we walked through that had, and I put it up on my Instagram because it had, like, time stood still. There was a petrol pump and an old car from probably the 1940s, it looked like, that was just stopped still in time. And whenever I go and do something like that, and I did it with Namibia, it's like this, you just turn back time, you turn back your life, you slow things down. There's nothing that's important out there because there is no bloody internet. There is nothing to speak of, at least. And, it is an experience. And to meet then the people that lived on Corongaroo, which were a melting pot of cultures and young people from all over Australia, and to hear about their lives and where they'd come from and how they'd gotten there. And, we talk about synchronicity, and it was really interesting because they all got back from the rodeo, and there's a couple of girls, and one of the girls came in to Ricky. Ricky and I were cruising in the lounge area, and one of the girls came in and you could see there were tears in her eyes, and she was really upset. And so we all sat down, and then another girl came in. It became a pajama party, and we all talked about what was happening in her life and how she could help it. And you'd be happy to hear that since I've been there, that the whole diet's changing. Not all of them, but a couple of them said, right, we're changing our diets. We're going to feel better about ourselves and our lives, and how can we make changes to feel the best? So it was a great experience, and made my little 60 acres look very puny, very, very puny.
Yeah, that staggers me in Australia, just how big this country is, and people having millions of hectares and land. And it kind of reminds me of when we spoke up in the Northern Territory, just speaking to authors that wrote things like Beyond the Bitumen and Our Beautiful Country Women. And Cyndi, I do see you as a McLeod's daughter. Not only Bear Grylls, but you're McLeod's daughter. So have you always wanted to own 60 acres? Like, how did that all eventuate? What's inspired you to do that?
Oh, from as long as I can remember, I wanted to marry a farmer and have 12 children. That was always my ambition in life. So,
and prolapse your uterus.
Yeah, prolapse the uterus, do the whole lot. But that was always my ambition, and I don't know where that came from. I have no idea what that was all about. But I did. I wanted lots of kids, and I wanted to grow my own food, and I wanted to live a hippie lifestyle. And I can't remember not wanting that. And I remember at 19, 20 going to America and doing 2 years in Colorado in a land management Western wilderness program. And I remember just thinking, this is what I want to do. I want to be out in the country. And here I do. I live in middle suburbia on the Sunshine Coast. I know it's not quite Sydney or Melbourne, but I live in middle suburbia on the Sunshine Coast, and I don't have that far. Yeah. So it's been a lifelong ambition, put it that way. And so whenever I go out west, I just love it. So we went and fixed windmills. Well, at least it looked like I was trying to fix a windmill. We looked at the new modern windmill, which is no longer the windmill. It's an electric pump that is fired by the sun, because there's so much sun out there. It doesn't rain. They've been in drought for 3 years. We went. I just was in awe that there's that much land and that a family owns this. So apparently the station's owned by a family that also owns 2 more. One has 4.5 million acres on it, and the other one has only 600,000 acres. So it's it's just phenomenal. I can't even fathom. I even in the chopper, I never even got close to the near reaches of this place.
Wow.
How amazing.
It's mind-blowing. And did you get inspired while you were out there? I mean, like, what does it mean to be on the land like that? What does it do to you? I mean, you came back recharged and energised, and how? What does that do? Because if I saw the frickin' snakes that you saw, I don't know if I would have come back alive, let alone... to me, it's Jurassic Park out there, so I'm not quite sure how you do it, but how does that inspire you, my love?
Jurassic Park. I do love that. And yeah, look, it's very dry and it's very flat, but then there's these beautiful, I don't know, the river systems. You know, the Cooper River is close to there, and you can see an ancient history. It's very much like Namibia, actually. If I was really going to say anything, the centre or where I was, I kept looking at it going, well, I could be in Namibia, except for the high mountains weren't there. Look, I don't know what it does and why it recharges me, because I have a feeling that for Karen, it may not do that to her, because there's a lot of dust out there, Karen, and a lot of dust. And my hair was constantly like feeling like straw, and I had red all over me. It was so funny because we went into the rodeo because it was an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half into the rodeo. So we went into the rodeo for a couple of hours, and it was so much wind and so much red dust. At one point I couldn't see anything, and I looked at all the cowboys and all the cowgirls, and they all had red faces. They just were filthy dirty. So, Karen, I'm just not sure how you would cope out there. I don't think it would re-energise you all that much. I think a nice shower might.
Well, I think all in good balance.
It's horses for courses,
really.
I
think one should be able to experience.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's horses for courses. What energises you may not energise me, and what energises Kim, but it's about talking about it. It's about figuring out, well, what is it that energises me? Just because, Kim Morrison says that a bath with oils in it and oils on your feet and all these things that you teach me, Kim, which I do. But it may not be, and I do. I do everything you tell me to do. And it may not be what energises somebody else. And it's the same with me going out to 1.5 million acres. It's red dirt and dry, and there's not a blade of grass, or there's very little, and there's flies. And I don't know. It's just I think people have to figure out what is it that energizes me, and I think they need to do it on a daily basis, and whether that is putting your feet on the grass or putting your feet on the sand, that's all what we've got to realize. And I loved listening to yours, Karen, even though it sounded like I wasn't on there. I was hearing partly what you were saying. You had different ways of finding that with your fluffies,
Animals do have that effect on you, though, don't they? Gosh, today I was sitting at the hairdresser's. Okay, I so nearly bought a kitten online. Oh my gosh. I went to the animal refuge and I saw these photos, and then somehow I ended up in Mexico looking at short-haired exotic cats, and I nearly bought one. And I was just like, oh my God, I so want one. Anyway, but there's something happens to you in your vibration when you're around animals. They're very calming. I saw on the internet I think it was on Facebook, they have, I don't know, you probably do know this, Kaz, but they actually have dogs that they take around into respite care or into palliative care, and these dogs sit by the bed or on the bed, and they have the hand, and this dog was so adorable. He kept, when they nose your hand, when they and they're lifting your hand to go on their head, and this lady apparently was not well at all, and she had not reacted or responded very well to anything, and this puppy dog sat up on the bed and just kept nuzzling her hand, and eventually she lifted her hand and put it on his forehead, and he slept next to her. And I just thought it comes, like you say, Cindy, it's in so many different ways, but I think what's important is that we each find what makes us tick, and like you say, it's not all the same, it's not all, but it does seem to have a common thread, and to me it's things without judgment, it's things that are pure, it's things that are absolute, and if nothing else, right back to its natural source seems to be, the thing that connects us all, or connectivity with other human beings is a biggie too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge contributor, is our ability to connect with each other. And I think that comes back to, from an emotional point of view, it's wonderful because we need to feel like we're a part of something. But even from a scientific point of view, again, the human was never meant to be on its own, because it is part of this whole collective consciousness. So when we separate and segregate ourselves, sometimes we might need to do that, but ultimately we are at our best when we're able to be connected with others, which is why most people are always in constant pursuit of a relationship,
Yeah. Cindy, tell us about the farm that you've bought. I mean, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, give it to us. What do you want to do with it? Apart from have us come and stay and write my next 3 books and hang out and have girls' night in and sit in that hemp room and put on a salt lamp and have the reaction between the hemp and the salt and see what happens.
I have big dreams for my 60 acres, and they range from being a sanctuary for my family to be homeschooled and just have a place for them to be, and that's not my immediate family. I'm talking about my kids. And as my husband always says to me, yes, but they're going to have husbands and wives, Cindy, and they may not want to be near you. So I kind of laugh at that one. He says, I understand this is what you want to do, but they may have other things in mind that so I go, okay, well, so that's one thing I could do. But I guess another thing that I really wanted to do with it is I want to produce food and have animals on my land, so that I love Joel Salatin's way of doing things, where the pigs come through and they rut through the ground, then you let it bare, and then you let the grass through and they eat the grass, and then once they've pooed everywhere, you put the chickens through and they eat everything out of the poo, and then the turkeys come in after that. And so I'd love to do that type of rotational type of getting the ground right for the fruit trees and the nut trees and the vegetable garden and things like that. So
is that
that's
the definition
number
of
one.
permaculture?
Number 2, I guess it is. I just follow Joel Salatin and what he's doing, and then there's Ben Falloon, and then there's Darren Doherty, and these are Australians that are doing his way, as well as Sally Fallon. And I've been to Sally's place and watched this whole thing in process. She's got, I believe, 90 acres, and I watched her do this whole thing in process. So I guess to create a place to eat, because I think if we really, really are wanting to have great health, we have to be also. Sorry, I think I lost you. Did I?
Yeah. Tell us. You said if you're wanting good health.
Yeah. Sorry, just for a minute. Yeah, if you're wanting good health, you have to also be interested in the production of your food. If you're not interested in the production of the food, then you're not really looking at your health. And I'm in a stage in my life, and I am 55 this year, where I've gone, now this time. I've wanted this all my life. Now's my time. I still aren't going to marry a farmer, though. I just need everybody to know that. I'm still married to the chiropractor, but that ain't going to happen. But at least I can at least get that goal without marrying the farmer. I think as little girls we always think that we have to marry someone to get what we want, but in actual fact I think we have to realise our own power. And I'm realising that now in my mid-50s and realising I can do that. And I know that a lot of women are beginning to have chickens in their yard or do that. So that was one of the things I wanted to do. And another thing that I would like to do is create a health retreat. And how quickly I do that, I'm not really sure. But I have the ability to do that by right. I'm allowed 8 homes on my land as a tourist resort. So I would really love to think that eventually I would create a health retreat. I'm very fortunate. I have water on my land. So I have 2 spring-fed dams that are already there. Or actually there's one spring-fed dam and the other one's a spring-fed bog. I don't think they've built a dam there. It's just this bog of water. It's just amazing. So I'd like to, get my water right first, because that's what I've been told. Make sure all your water's clean and everything's right. There's been a bit of dumping on the land, so I have to clean up that dumping. Apart from that, it's a pretty pristine land that I've heard that there's deer on it. I've heard there's rabbit. There's also mice. I found mice in the house, so I need to
get a cat.
Get rid of those.
Oh my God! Get the cat. Get the cat that I saw online.
Yeah, no, I think I'll send my cat up there. I think he'd be quite happy catching mice up there. He's just going to learn. I'm just going to have to teach him how to live by himself, though, until we find a caretaker or someone to go up there. I'm sure there'll be lots out there. So, I think when you've got your land, you can say, okay, what is it that I want to do, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm going to slowly but surely get through and do it.
How amazing. How exciting. And you know what I'm so excited about? Is you might clear a little patch for me to have a cow.
Yes, definitely. And little miniature pigs. Remember the miniature pigs?
Yeah. Can we have a little donkey?
A donkey?
A little miniature donkey and maybe a little miniature horse and a little miniature chicken.
Oh my God, it's going to be a miniature land.
Oh my goodness, I would just wet my pants.
I love it.
Oh, how exciting.
Cyndi,
so
what
Kimmy,
sorry.
I had a question for you.
Yeah.
What's we've been talking about raising our vibration and becoming energized, and I know the way you do it, and we've talked about that before. But I think one of the ways of raising a vibration is having a dream. What's yours? What's your big dream?
Well, as much as I'm inspired by yours to sort of be on the land, the fact that I wouldn't have a clue what to do or how I would look after land, that's funny. I think mine is more about being by water. I love being by the beach, and I love my dream one day. I mean, I think I've shared this on previous podcasts, is, Danny and I lost all our investments and all our money and in a property deal and the financial crash a couple of years ago. So, for me, a big dream at the moment, and the one I'm working towards, is to own my own home again. And my business coach has been making me put aside a certain amount of money every week that I'm not allowed to touch. And he thinks by next April I should have a deposit for my first little investment. It may not be my dream home yet, but that really made me realise that things are possible. So I feel very lit up by that dream. I'm also very excited about my business. It's really thriving and growing, and it's been 17 years of hard work for it to start being a success. But I just feel that that my education. I just announced the winner to win the inaugural scholarship for my health and lifestyle education program. So we decided, most businesses, or a lot of businesses, like to contribute to some charity or to work with charities. And I've been looking and And in the end, I decided, well, actually, my community is my charity, and I want to help people. So we always donate to local events and things like that with beautiful products. Or last weekend, I spoke down in Byron Bay for the Mind Forum for their mothers, and most of the mothers that were on that retreat had children with autism. So I gave them all beautiful blends to work with, and that was, and I spoke, for free, and I just wanted to give that to the community, and I feel like that's a dream of mine, is to build the ways in which I can give back. But what I really loved was ringing the lady today to tell her that she had won the scholarship for the next program, and she went really quiet, and then all I heard was this big sniffle and tears, and she said she just doesn't know what's happened in the last 12 months, but she's had a huge shift, and she somehow won tickets to go to the Wellness Summit a few weeks ago, and which meant she could take her husband, and then he got really lit up and could finally see for her what she's been on about all these last few years, and something clicked for him. And then she wrote in the most beautiful application for the scholarship, and she was the one that was chosen for it, and she just couldn't speak. So my dream is to keep growing this business so that it becomes a legacy for my children and maybe generations to come, and to have a home that one day I can call mine again would be a beautiful dream. I have big dreams that the three of us will do a book together one day. That keeps coming up in my dreams for some reason. I keep hearing our book launch coming up. It's come up, recently, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had this dream, and the three of us were on stage launching a book, and it wasn't my book. It was definitely the three of us on stage, and it was called Awaken the Change Within. And I just thought, my God, this keeps coming up for me. Whether or not that comes true, I don't know. But I am inspired by all the challenges that I've had in my life, but also the beautiful friendships I've developed and the inspiration I get from people like the Wellness Guys and that whole tribe, the beautiful Pete Evans and Bubba Yum Yum and Helen Padron. And I'm so blessed to have met Nora Gregardis, and Dr. Libby saw me the other day, and she texted me and said what a treat it was to see me. And I even pinched myself, and I went, how did I get here? How did I get all these amazing people that I go goo-goo around? They actually text me, so I'm feeling very good, like I said. So does that answer your question? I probably went off on a tangent.
That's beautiful. I think so. I think definitely. Karen, what about you?
I think what really inspires me is definitely, Cyndi, you hit the nail on the head, like having a dream, and the sensation that dream gives me always inspires me. And when I sometimes lose my way in, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, I always try and bring myself back to what do I want to create for myself. And I don't project too far out into the future, because it's just not the way I'm wired. So I'll project like 3 months into the future, and I'll think, okay, so what's my dream for myself? Like, what is my ultimate dream for myself in the next 3 months? And I don't really hold myself back too much. I let myself go nuts with what that dream would look like and what I would look like and what I would be experiencing. And I really let myself dive into that feeling and that sensation of the dream. And that always inspires me. And it's that I go to bed with at nighttime, that I get that accelerated sensation of gratitude for, which is where my creativity comes from. And I always get inspired by the beautiful people who cross my path. And some of them are there for a reason, season, or a lifetime. But I always see every encounter with another human being as not chance, but I see it as opportunity and as potential. And like I look at the relationship that I have with you guys, and I couldn't feel more blessed or more encouraged that the world is a magical place because you guys are in it, and I get to share that with you. And I look at my mat and, the challenges that come with that, and also the magic that comes with that. I feel like I'm the luckiest person breathing, and I just wish for everybody to have that same blessing. And, of course, being in that place keeps a person very open to opportunities and keeps a person very open to everyone and everything that crosses their path. So I see everything as purposeful, and that keeps me inspired. Because, to be honest, sometimes when I turn the television on and I see what I see, not that I do that often these days, but, I see what's on the television and I see what goes on social media, and, I see some of the pain and the suffering in people's lives. It's very easy to get despondent, and it's very easy to go sometimes to think to myself, shit, what's it all for? It all just feels like this uphill battle, and what's it all for? But then, the next minute I'll interview somebody exceptional, on Karen's couch, or I'll talk to you guys, or we'll interview somebody exceptional on this show, and I'll think, sugar, that's what it's all for. There's so much more magic out there than what there is anything else. So it's just a case of being vigilant, I think, because I am a sensitive soul and I do feel things. So it's just being vigilant with what I'm prepared to feel, and I prefer to feel inspired more than I would prefer to feel disheartened. So, yeah, that's, I think it's very much, for me, it's an internally generated thing, being inspired. It's internally generated. And when I've looked for my inspiration outside, I've never found it. But when I keep myself focused on those things that I've just said and really look at the people in my life and just fall madly, deeply in love, then life is just this extraordinarily rich and flavoursome experience. And quite frankly, Miss Cyndi, I think that you're a caramel, and Miss Kimmy, I think you would be you'd be a strawberry shortcake.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
I love it.
And you're our peach cobbler.
Actually, you know what? I'd love peach cobbler. You know what I was thinking while we've been talking? Last week I talked about something that was, I'd got my goat a little bit, and it was about the whole thing around Andrew Wakefield, who was the autism MMR guy. So I decided to ask my doctor friend what he thought, and he was very venomous about Andrew Wakefield. So then I thought, let me listen to this Brian Deere, which is the person who was against Andrew Wakefield. And I listened to Brian Deere's interview that he had with the English or the UK skeptics, I think it was. And as I'm listening to him, I'm thinking, oh, you sound reasonable. You sound like, you know what you're talking about. You sound quite flippant, actually, about that you never really wanted to get into this. It's just what you found and you investigated. And I started to think about, how do we know whether we're right or we're wrong? How do we know that what we've read and what we're saying? Because I'm listening to two opposing stories right now, and both sound feasible and both sound correct. And I'm asking, how do we know? And I'm asking both of you. People must question themselves at times and go, well, let me explain this even more fully. So Mike Willesee and Pete Evans were on Channel 7 doing this whole paleo thing, and in 10 weeks, Mike Willesee ends up being very healthy. His inflammatory markers on his blood have decreased. He's lost 5 kilos of weight. He's thinking differently. He wants to do things differently. And then you go on social media and you hear all this nastiness about the whole thing. And I'm thinking, and they're saying we should be eating all of these types of foods, and Pete Evans is taking it out of him. And I've gone into, in the last couple of days, thinking, who's right? Who's wrong? Mm-hmm. How do we know? Is Andrew Wakefield right? Is Brian Deere right? Is Pete Evans and the whole paleo community right or wrong? Is it the DAA? They think they're right. Mm. So I go, how do I go into, I don't know how to explain how I'm feeling right now, and I don't know if anybody else has felt like this before, but there's this total well, it all sounds pretty feasible. So, yeah, you could be right and we could be wrong, or we could be right and you could be wrong. Am I making sense here, you two?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. And I think, Cyndi, it's such a profound point, because I think it doesn't matter what a person researches, they can find evidence for both sides. And I think that's what makes it so confusing, is that how do we know? On anything, actually. You know, you even on divorce or bankruptcy or trading shares or eating meat or which vegetables go with which vegetables. It doesn't matter what it is. I think it's confusing. I actually would like your answer on that. How do we know?
Well, how do we know? Like, I don't know Andrew Wakefield and I don't know Brian Deere, but I've listened to both of them and they both sound feasible, but they're both opposing forces. I hear mothers, you know, and Kim's just been to the Mind conference in Byron for mothers who have children with autism. Some mothers say it was definitely after the vaccine. Others say, well, I don't know, and will defend the vaccine. I'm just, and it's like the whole food thing at the moment. I know what makes me feel good. I know what makes me get up in the morning and feel energetic, and I know what gives me aches and pains and doesn't make me feel good. Then why are the young upstart dietitians out there just going, this is all, you know, this is wrong? And why is the dedicated DAA dietitians that have been going for as long as me got the opposing belief that I've got? Like I read yesterday, and she looked like she'd been a dietitian for quite a while. She was also the chairman of the breakfast cereal association, manufacturers of whatever, I don't know, and was talking about the benefits of breakfast cereals and how important it is to eat breakfast cereals. Wow. And I'm like, has the world gone mad that we are so conflicting in so many things that we are thinking? And I don't know. I am really, I'm really questioning just about everything at the moment, and just, you know, even questioning, why do I do what I do? Questioning, I don't know. And I'm sorry if I'm not making myself clear, but I am not clear at the moment. I am, and I get into a little bit of a rut with this because I want to read everything on it, but while I read everything on it, I then get even more frustrated and more confused, and I then just start to pick holes in everybody's argument. But then I try and see the big picture. Oh, okay, what are you trying to do? What's the big picture here? And yeah, I mean, it's a real dilemma. And I would just like to right now go up onto my farm and never see a human being again.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah,
you need to escape.
That's how it feels. Is just so much animosity and so much conflicting evidence and conflicting information out there. And I feel for people who are looking and seeking. And I feel for me, I found what works for me. But is that right for humanity? And is that right for my community? Who's to say? You know?
I admire the fact you even asked the question. I admire the fact that you even question it. I mean, the thing when it gets awful and horribly confusing for people is when we actually are fighting each other on it, rather than saying, well, you know, I actually loved the way Mike Willesee conducted that whole thing. I loved the way he went. Is paleo for me? I don't know, but I feel better. I've lost, I think he said 6 or 7 kilos. My markers have all changed. I'm walking better. That's just the start. And what I loved was his line when he said, that's just the first chapter. And I think, you know, I said in my newsletter this week that to me it was a classic case of biohacking. Pete Evans wasn't saying don't eat dairy or don't eat sugar. He was just saying take it out for 10 weeks and see for yourself what it feels like. Just because he's a real vigilante on it and what works for him, he's just posing the question, try it and see what happens, see how you feel. So I think that would be the place I'd love us all to come from.
Yeah, and do you know what? It was it's almost like politics, that it feels like the opposition can never say, hey, that was really cool. What you did was amazing. Let's see what happens in the next chapter. Why can't politicians say that when some politician does a great job? And why can't the DAA and the dietitians say what Pete Evans did was pretty amazing? But more importantly, Pete was the guiding light. What it was that Mike Willesee actually had to make the effort, go through the withdrawal symptoms of his coke addiction. And then on the other side, there's the DAA saying, well, he would have got better on a real food diet anyway. Well, why didn't you get in there and step in there and do it? I don't know. I just found the whole thing. I watched the end of Mike Willesee and I just punched the air and I went, that is food as medicine. That is the most amazing thing to see on television that is usually very negative about these things. And I have to admire Pete. I really do. I take my hat off to him. And I've noticed that he's retaliating just a little bit, but with information, not scathing remarks. He's just going, hey, guys, this is the evidence here. Don't take my word for it. Read it yourself. Have a look at it. And I know where he finds his little vibration. We've been there, you know. He finds his vibration away from the public. He finds it with his beautiful girlfriend, Nick, and his two beautiful daughters on a very private acreage somewhere in northern New South Wales. That's where he finds his solace. And I think everybody needs to find that. No, and I know for me, the minute I go up to Mullaney and sit on that land and walk through my waterways and my just walk on it, there is that place of absolute perfection and calm. I don't know where this crazy social media world is going, because it's just there has to be some reining in. There has to be a reining in of some sort, because just recently we'd seen that cheating site. What was it called? Did you see that on the cheating site where people have put their name down because they won't cheat on them?
What?
On their marriage, and there's the case now where it's been hacked and been released, and there are people committing suicide because they've been found out that they've been cheating on their family, on their spouses. And I just go, this is just meanness. This is just questioning what is happening out there, and maybe, is social media going to implode on itself in what's happening? I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, for our listeners listening, just in case you don't know, you can go onto Google and search and Google Mike Willesee, Pete Evans, and it's the Sunday show. You can actually watch both shows, I think, on one of those links there. So have a look and see for yourself, and maybe comment after our show what you think of it. What were you going to say? Sorry, Karen?
No. I was actually just agreeing with Cyndi. I think that's the thing that I was talking about before. It's too easy to turn on the television and see literally humanity imploding on itself. And you go through social media and you see it, and it's heartbreaking. And it's almost, you wonder where it will ever end, if it will ever end, or will it just continue to escalate and just get worse? And what will we do? I mean, how does this unfold for our children and our children's children? How does it change? Like, how does it get any better? Or are we comparing what is to what was? And we have no foresight to what could be possible. I don't know. I don't know.
I guess there's also a positive to social media, because people who couldn't have had a voice now have a voice. And there was a beautiful cartoonist, an Australian cartoonist, very famous cartoonist, that
said that he is the voice of the underdog. He's the voice of the person who doesn't have a voice. And I think that that's what social media ends up doing, is that it does give people who haven't had a voice a chance to say what they want to say. But we've got to take the good and bad with that, I guess. We've just got to see that there are people out there that have just got a horrible voice. Well, I'm being judgmental, aren't I, here?
But I think it comes back to that point, darlings, where we talked about, you said you were out on the land, there was no Wi-Fi, there was nothing out there. Maybe being in that little cocoon and up in Mullaney in your beautiful hemp studio is actually, maybe that's why people are retreating. Listen, I think that's where maybe we need to just pull away from it. When you don't know what's going on, I'm oblivious to all of this that you're talking about. I haven't seen any of it. So I'm actually quite glad. I don't know whether I miss it or whether I don't go looking for it, or I'm not getting attacked the way you do though, Cyndi, and I certainly don't see it. But the only thing I ever do on social media is post nice things or comments that sometimes I'll have an opinion, but not, my whole rule around that is not nastiness. I don't like it. Don't know. Let's go back up to your farm.
Yeah, let's all just go and live at the farm.
Yeah, let's go live on the 1.5 million acres. There is nothing out there. There is no Wi-Fi. There is nothing.
Oh, well, I've loved this.
And one of the things that I just want to say, and it's about Ricky, that girl has, I believe, changed and inspired a group of young people to be better, to do better. And I look at what she's done, and I'm absolutely blown away by how she has created, pigs and eggs and dogs, and they're all well loved by her and those kids. So I want to take off my hat to Ricky, who's gone out to this very, very lonely place and created beautiful change. And I know that these young people will be talking about Ricky for the rest of their lives.
Oh,
yeah, no doubt.
God, how beautiful.
I know it.
We love you, Ricky.
We love you, Ricky.
We all love you. How beautiful.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Gorgeous. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful show, hasn't it?
On the run, too.
Totally on the run. I'm loving it.
I think we have to apologise for some of the sound issues that we had, everybody, but it was either this or you were going to miss a podcast this week. So hopefully everybody's hung in there with us. And thank you, Kaz, for pulling over on the side of the road and amongst everything and making it happen.
Oh, no, it's been awesome. So thank you, everybody. Make sure that you go to our Facebook page and post your comments and your questions at allthews.facebook.com/up for a chat. And you can also post all of your comments and your questions at allthews.thewellnesscouch.com/up for a chat. Oh my God, I got it right this week. Just saying. Hashtag. I'm a bit excited. So go to our Facebook page, make all of your comments, ask us your questions. Let us know if there's anything that you guys want us to talk about. We love to hear from you. So please go ahead and do that. Join us here next time, same station, on Up for a Chat, and become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We're going to see you on the ride. Bye for now, everybody.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.